Welcome back to the channel. Black is One, where the agenda is to unify the black race wherever we are in the world so that we can build and prosper. I want to take the time out to appreciate the persons who have subscribed to the channel and those who are watching and sharing the videos and engaging with the content. And I invite those who are watching now who haven't yet subscribed to do so. I'd be very grateful. Now moving on to the video. In this video, I'm going to be revisiting the Kanye West controversy. The whole drama that is playing out in the US as it relates to what is happening to him and Kayre Irving is a lesson. Like I said in my previous video, we can't afford to miss. We have to pay attention. I never did any video about Kayre Irving and what is happening to him, but what is happening to him is basically a part 2 of what is happening to Kanye West. It's Kanye West 2.0. Now, just to recap for context, the essence of their story is that they are accused of posting something considered anti-Semitic on social media, which I think is debatable and negligible in my opinion. I mean, what they have said or posted on social media about the Jews, when you compare that to what has been said about black people and what has been done to black people, I mean, that is basic stuff. Anyway, because of their posts, they are being stripped by the system of their economic power, swiftly and without mercy. They have been put under economic sanctions, if you will. An economic war has been waged against them. Now, with all that is going on, what can we learn? How should we respond? I mean, they just switched off these billionaires like a stove in the economic sense. How do we deal with that reality going forward? I read a book written by 50 Cent and Robert Greene called The 50th Law. The book was basically about some life lessons and business lessons from the life of 50 Cent. They use these life experiences to explain or demonstrate certain wealth accumulation concepts. I learned quite a lot from that book. But there's one lesson that stood out to me. The one that I'll never forget. It was a lesson about ownership. What they said essentially is that no matter what you're doing, what field you're in, or what level you are on the ladder of corporate success, if you're at the top or at the very bottom, your ultimate focus should be ownership. You're not wealthy per se, no matter how much you earn or how much you are paid, until you own or have some amount of ownership over the important assets in the industry. For example, if your salary working for a certain company allows you to afford the rent to live anywhere, no matter how much the rent is, you can pay. The owner of the property has more power because he can tell you to leave. So even if your salary is worth more than the house itself, in the long term, generational scheme of things, he has the advantage because he owns the real estate. And this is not just for rich people, even poor people. To be truly free, have to get into the habit, into the mentality of owning the things that are important to their survival. Now, what does this have to do with Kanye West and Kayre Irving and black people in general? I'm not going to say that Kanye West, for example, should have been a one-man show with no business partner, or that he should have had his own bank. That's not what I'm saying, because I know that there is so much that an individual can own. As a matter of fact, I'm asking a question. As a collective, where are the black-owned banks and financial institutions to safeguard our money should the system choose to launch an economic assault on us? It doesn't have to serve black clients only or mostly, but it has to be black-owned, wealthy and powerful to leverage that power to protect the interests of the black masses, to protect us from anti-black racism, for example. A lot of black athletes have made these big companies like Adidas and Nike very wealthy. They pay these athletes and artists very sumptuously, a great salary. They use our image and influence, and by our I mean black people, to sell their brands and products that they own. Where is the brand, the company, the products that we own? I'm going to concede that I don't have all the know-how to build out this idea in real life. I am no business whiz. But I'm talking about a concept. And the concept is this. We need to start thinking black. Think long term, 200 years into the future. And seek not just to make money and spend money, but to own stuff. So all your business students in college, these are the research questions that you should be trying to answer. These are the topics that you should be writing your thesis on. You know, you should be using your genius to solve the problems that affect your people, black people. And I don't want you to be listening to me thinking that, you know, I am no big athlete or artist, so this doesn't apply to me. It does. I saw a video the other day of a group of black people, 19 families, who came together to buy a town, technically. 94 acres of land in the US to establish a community, a kind of sanctuary, a safe space for black people. That is a good concept. And these are regular people. That is ownership. And this idea of ownership is not anything new. What 50 Cent and Robert Greene call ownership, Marcus Garvey called it self-reliance, economic independence. So it's not something new. We just haven't been paying attention. Or we have made the grave error of thinking that it was possible to integrate into an economic system that is anti-black and anti-Africa. Marcus Garvey died in 1940. If we had implemented his ideas, we would not be where we are today. We would have been further ahead. And don't get me wrong, I think we have done well as a race, given the tide of opposition and international sabotage we are up against. But just imagine how better we could have done if we had truly studied and implemented Marcus Garvey's ideas, his philosophies, his principles. Now for the rest of the video, I'm going to give you a few words from Marcus Garvey himself, where he emphasizes the importance of economic independence, the importance of the race being self-reliant. Kanye's situation shows us that if our economic prosperity is tied to their industries, we are doomed. Think of it. If they can switch off a Kanye West or a Kanye Irving, what chance does any of us stand? So, for the rest of the video, take a seat before our great teacher, Marcus Garvey, for you, brothers and sisters. Now, as a starter, as a foundation, and I'm quoting Marcus Garvey now, and he says, the race can only be saved through a solid industrial foundation. End quote. There's no way of getting around that. It is like if you're going to start your car, you need a battery. It is that simple. There's no other way. The race can only be saved through a solid industrial foundation. What he's saying is that we need to make things, not just buy things and use things and own nothing. In the second quote, he says, and I'm quoting again, Take away industry from a race. Take away political freedom from a race. And you have a slave race. End quote. We will never be free without a solid, black-owned, black-controlled economic base. A black economy. You know why we have to be so tippy-toe and cautious on YouTube and TikTok and Twitter and Instagram and all these platforms? It's because we don't own them. Next quote. I trust that you will so live today as to realize that you are the masters of your own destiny, masters of your fate. If there is anything you want in this world, it is for you to strike out with confidence and faith in self and reach for it. I think that one is self-explanatory, so moving on. Next quote. Now is the chance for every Negro to make every effort towards a commercial industrial standard that will make us comparable with the successful businessmen of other races. End of quote. Marcus Garvey died in 1940, like I said. So he was saying this from before 1940. That's over 80 years ago. 80. Where is our commercial base? I'll tell you where it is. We fell for the myth of racial integration and abandoned our economic independence project and self-reliance project. Somebody crawled into our heads and told us that by seeking to be able to feed our own people, educate our own people, build our own industries, to provide for ourselves everything that a human being needs is a sign of selfishness and resentment for other races. So, to prove that we are not selfish, that we are not resentful, we have agreed to own nothing and instead outsource our survival and economic prosperity to other people. Next quote. The Negro will have to build his own industry, art, science, literature, and culture before the world will stop to consider him. Now, I would paraphrase it a little bit different. I would say that the Negro will have to rebuild his own industry, art, science, and literature before the world stop to consider him. I would say rebuild because we had these things before our civilization was tainted by contact with the various invaders, the various invading races. We had a thriving economy in Africa before the Arabs and the Europeans invaded the continent. What we have done as a race in the field of arts is unquestionable in terms of quality and quantity. But like everything else, most of it was stolen by the Britain and France and Germany and Belgium and all these countries in the millions. There is more African art in some European museums than European art. Imagine that. We excelled in science in the past. Imhotep, the world's first multi-genius, was an African, an Egyptian. He is the father of medicine, not Hippocrates. That's why I say that we have to rebuild these industries for ourselves. So it's not like building them is outside our scope or ability. It is in our blood, it is in our gene, it is who we are. But that is not what this video is about. That lecture is for another day. Next quote from Marcus Garvey. And this one is particularly important. All of them are important, but I want you to pay attention to this one. He said that, and I quote, "Ideals of liberty, freedom, and righteousness do not prosper in the 20th century, or the 21st century in our case, except they coincide with oil, rubber, gold, diamond, coal, iron, sugar, coffee, and such other materials and products desired by the privileged capitalists and leaders who control the systems of government. Now, this one is especially important for us who take matters of virtue and righteousness seriously. Those of us who have accepted that holiness and righteousness should be our only and ultimate life pursuit. Those of us who take Matthew 6 verse 33 quite literally, to seek ye first the kingdom of God and all his righteousness, and all things shall be added. Nothing is wrong with righteousness. Nothing is wrong with holiness. Nothing is wrong with the pursuit of virtue. As a matter of fact, everything is right with these things. But based on the position we are in as a race, by themselves, they are useless to our survival. They need company to have meaning. The ideals of liberty, freedom, and righteousness do not prosper in the 21st century. Except, so it is not that they don't prosper, but they only prosper if it coincides with oil and rubber, and gold and diamond, coal, iron, sugar, and other such materials and products desired by the privileged capitalists and leaders who control the systems of government. So virtue and righteousness alone are not enough. They are not enough because human survival is built on an economy. And for us to survive and thrive as a race, as a people, we need an economy of our own. Next quote from Marcus Garvey. And I quote, "All peoples are struggling to blast a way through the industrial monopoly of races and nations, but the Negro as a whole has failed to grasp its true significance and seems to delight in filling only that place created for him by the white man." End of quote. As I said in my last video, the black man, no matter how wealthy he is in this part of the world, has a role in which he is to remain. And if he ever steps out of that role, if he ever steps out of character, if he ever quote unquote misbehave or goes against their agenda, he has to be disciplined. He has to be reminded who is in control. And this will forever be the case as long as we try to build our house on their foundation. We have to find our own land, dig our own foundation, and build our own house. It is that simple. Listen to this next quote. "Our success educationally, industrially, and politically is based upon the protection of a nation founded by ourselves. And that nation can be nowhere else but in Africa." Now, this is the crux of what Marcus Garvey was all about. Not just to have an independent black economy, but an independent black nation. A safe space for all black people with melanin in their skin. Listen to what he said. "Our success educationally, industrially, and politically should be to protect a nation founded by black people, not founded by other races, and we are trying to get accepted in it, but founded by black people, and that nation can be nowhere else but in Africa." Now, I know that this one is not very good news for those who have fallen in love with our new home in the quote-unquote new world. You know, since the last slave ships have docked, since the slave trade has ended. Memories of the tyranny we went through have faded. And now we get to like the place. We have built a life in these jail cells, these holding areas, these slave plantations called Jamaica and the United States of America and England and France and Trinidad and Tobago and Brazil and Haiti, you name it. All our memories and friends are here. I understand. I don't blame you. And I'm not saying that all black people should pack up and head back to Africa. And Garvey never said that either. But wherever we are in the world, we have to remember that we are just satellites, subsidiaries, we are just branches. Africa is the mothership. Africa is the black man's headquarters. We, nobody else, we have to build our mothership. And all of us don't have to be there to do it. We are at a critical moment in history, brothers and sisters. We have a window to get this thing right, to fix our collective destiny. We owe it to our ancestors and our next generation to do so. We have to wake up. We have to start thinking. We have to just do better. So this is my conclusion. This is what I want you to take away from this video. Kanye's situation and Kayre Irving has given us all the reasons we need as to why we should strive for ownership, for self-reliance, for economic independence, not as individuals only, but as a race. We will never be free without it. In the words of Marcus Garvey, and I quote, "A race that is solely dependent upon another for its economic existence, sooner or later dies." End quote. We have come too far as a race. We have survived too much to choose death. We have to do better. I rest my case. Remember to subscribe to the channel if you appreciate the content and turn on your notifications so you're notified whenever I upload a new video. Follow me on Facebook. The name of the page is also Black is One. Send me a message at blackisone876@gmail.com. That is blackisone876@gmail.com. Share the videos. Click on the like button if you like the content. Leave me a comment. And remember your ancestors. Love black people. Think black. Be black without apology. Black is one. Live the revolution.